Everyone has completely misevaluated this card. They're analyzing it at the wrong angle, and they are missing the deep value out of this new Ikoria spoiler. Hey everyone, this is Nikachu Merfolk Master, and I'm pretty excited to talk about our little squiddly friend here, Sea Dasher Octopus. Now, Sea Dasher Octopus is a blue, one generic octopus that you can play at flash speed. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can draw a card. But that's not all. You have the option to mutate it for a blue and a generic, which means it can become basically an aura to another creature, and therefore, you know, as a lot of people are saying, this is like another copy of Curious Obsession or any sort of curiosity effect. But I think everyone's initial analysis on this card is just looking at it at the wrong angle, and they're missing the deep value in a card like this. The first thing that people say is that, well, this is just another aura, this is another Curious Obsession. That's wrong. You're just asking to get 2 for 1. You're going to put this thing on a creature, and after it resolves, they're just going to use a removal spell, and then you got 2 for 1 completely blown out. That is also wrong. Let's talk about what this card really is. It is not an upgraded Curious Obsession. It is a super upgraded Ophidian. Introduce Ophidian, the classic, we're talking like ancient days of Magic, control win condition. Ophidian was just basically a 0 power creature that drew a card every turn, because every single time you dealt damage to an opponent, you had the option to deal no damage and draw a card. Then there were evolutions like the Thieving Magpie, which also I think saw some sort of fringe standard play at the time. And then even John Finkel designed his player card, his invitational card was based off of Ophidian, and he made this Shadow Mage Infiltrator. But unfortunately, by the time that John Finkel designed this card, it basically saw no play because it was too weak compared to what was going on in Magic the Gathering at the time. So as time went on, this sort of effect is just not very strong. You're gonna there's so many of these three mana creatures that can deal damage and draw cards. It's not impressive, even if it was completely unblockable, until today. Until today, it has been now built with the single most important ability that any control player would want, and that is Flash. You don't want it to, as a control player or any tempo player, you don't want to be casting something for 3 mana and tapping out at sorcery speed. That's not how it works. You want your opponents to be tapping out and you play on their turn. And do you know what? If the coast is clear, you're going to flash in your Squidward and start attacking in for damage and drawing those cards. That is the value of the Sea Dasher Octopus. It is now a super Ophidian, and I think it's going to see play. I think it's going to see a lot of play once people start play testing with the damn thing and realize, oh my god, this thing is actually pretty strong. And it has more utility than that because you can use it as an aura. Now let's take the Merfolk deck, for example. The big problem with things like Curious Obsession, everyone's always asking me, Nikachu, can we play Curious Obsession? Can we play Curious Obsession? Everyone's been playing Curious Obsession. Look what it did in Standard. Look what it did in Standard. We have to play that in Modern. No, we cannot play that in Modern. The only deck that can play auras in Modern is basically Boggles, and it's not even working out that very well for Boggles. But here's the thing. The thing about auras that make them so terrible is that you have to play them at sorcery speed. You have to play very transparently in front of your opponent. Let's take a situation. I've got a Silvergill Adept. I've got a Merfolk Trickster. Main phase, I play my Curious Obsession on the Silvergill Adept. In response, my opponent kills my Silvergill Adept. I lose the Silvergill Adept, I lose the Curious Obsession. I don't get anything at all. Got squat. I got a Merfolk Trickster. I attack in for 2 damage. New scenario. I got a Silver Gill Adept. I have a Merfolk Trickster. I attack with them. Then my opponent uses removal on the Silver Gill Adept, killing it. Then I flash in the Octopus, mutate it onto the Merfolk Trickster that did not die because I did not give my opponent the information that I had this thing in my hand. Trickster gets in damage, draws a card. And even if your opponent untaps and kills the thing, then like who cares? You didn't lose anything. So I think a lot of people, the biggest misconception is everyone's saying this is just asking for a 2-for-1. How the hell is that possible? You never have to let that happen. Curious Obsession is always an aura, 100% of the time. Sea Dasher Octopus is a creature. You don't have to play it as an aura. You can just flash it in as a 2/2 creature whenever you want. You top deck Curious Obsession on an empty board. You don't have anything. You top deck the Octopus, you got a creature that can start dealing damage, drawing cards, and get incredible value, help you get back from an empty board state. They're two completely different things. They're not even comparable. So you got that situation where if you really want to get something in with damage, you wait for your opponent to tap out, but you also can of course just wait for your opponent to tap out at any point in the game and then flash it in. You can flash it in, you can mutate it if you want at end of turn if you only have 2 mana to spare instead of 3. But I think the real value is that you can play this as a creature very often. I think it's going to be played as a creature very often for 3 mana, and then in the games where you need the evasion, you attach it to a flying creature. Hey, if you're a Merfolk player, you can attach it to a creature with Island Walk. It's going to work out like that, and it's going to work that way. I think this is a very interesting card. I think it's very strong. And on the subject of the 2-for-1s, I don't think this is a card you want to play early on. I know that's how the mono blue tempo decks worked and operated, but I don't think that's how you're going to get like the most value out of this card. I tell you how I would play it. There's a lot of these games where you're just grinding resources, trading, and then at some point both players are running low on cards. They got 1 card in their hand, you have 1 card in your hand, and you want that card, the last thing you play is to be the Octopus, so that after everyone has exchanged as much resources as possible and has reduced the likelihood that your opponent has removal in hand, now's the time to play the Octopus on a creature or just flash it in as a creature, start dealing damage, grinding cards, and completely run away with the game. If you play the Octopus too early and it gets eaten up by a removal, or put on a creature as an aura too early, and sure, you drew a card, you're not at card disadvantage, but you're not getting any advantage, I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think you need to be more opportunistic with this card. You have to wait, you have to be patient in order to get the real value out of this card. But the fundamental thing is this is a creature that can be an aura if you want it to be, but you don't need to be. It's not mandatory. It's not like Curiosity. It's not like Curious Obsession. And I think you can strategically work your way to get a big advantage out of this. I think a lot of decks can play this thing. I would not be surprised if some control deck decides to adopt this. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So with that, can we play it in Merfolk? So I'm a Merfolk master, and I'm very interested in this card. I think it's very cool. Not to mention, it's got double blue Devotion that I could use with Master of Waves, and the fact that we do have Island Walk Lords, we do have unblockable creatures, we do play things like Brazen Borrower as an evasive creature with flying, so we do have enough evasion to play it as an aura effectively. And by the way, before anyone starts, shut up about the thing, oh, it's not a Merfolk. Was Kira a Merfolk? Was Brazen Borrower a Merfolk? Was Vendilion Click a Merfolk? Were any of these people Merfolk? No, they weren't. So get out of this nonsense, this mindset that everything needs to be a Merfolk in a Merfolk deck. The best Merfolk weren't. The best utility creatures, they were not Merfolk. We play with the fairies and the birds and all the other wizard stuff. And the spirits. So I think it's a very interesting, very strong card. If you asked me a year ago, whether this Ikoria card could be playable in Modern Merfolk, 100% yes. And I mean, the answer is still yes right now. However, is this a card that we need right now? Because frankly, we got a lot of slots got filled up by some very good cards. We got printed Force of Negation and Brazen Borrower. So where's the room for this thing? And is it, I guess the fundamental question is it fixing any problems the Modern Merfolk deck has right now? So for example, I'm losing quite a bit to things like Humans and Dredge. What is the Octopus gonna do help me in those tempo matchups? In some ways, it's probably just going to help me in a lot of matchups that I'm already winning, which may not necessarily be bad, because maybe if this thing really pushes the win rate up by a lot, sealing the deal against every grindy attrition-based deck might be fine. It might be useful. However, I would say the crux of it actually seeing play in at least Modern Merfolk would be that I'm not sure if it's necessary. Now, there are other formats where this thing could see play. Maybe Spirits in Pioneer. That's also totally possible. Another deck, very based in blue, that could use this sort of ability. There are already blue-white Spirit decks playing Curious Obsession. This is a safer Curious Obsession. And also, you don't even need to attack every single turn. I mean, with Curious Obsession, you literally needed to attack every single turn. This one, you do not need to. You can just sit tight, sit back whenever you need to. So, this card is amazing. I think the card is amazing. I think people are sleeping on the Octopus, all right? People are sleeping on this Squiddy Sea Dasher Octopus. This is like one of the most phenomenal, interesting cards that I've seen out of the Ikoria spoilers. I think it's going to see play. I think it's going to see play in both in Standard. I think it's going to see play in Pioneer. I even think it's going to see some play in Modern. I don't know what shell it's going to eventually appear in, but it's really good. It's a unique card, bringing back a classic, iconic powerhouse of a win condition back in the old days of Magic, giving it finally the ability it was looking for, being able to be cast at flash speed. The only thing I think may be preventing the control players playing it is that maybe they have better things to do at 3 mana and 4 mana. I mean that, you can play Teferi Time Reveler, you can play Jace the Mind Sculptor, Teferi Hero of Dominaria. But if you're not playing white, maybe there are other versions of Control that would be looking to play something like this. Anyway, I think it's really strong. I think it's really strong, very interesting. It's not Oko strong, all right? I mean, I think this card is very good. I don't think it's Oko Brazen Borrower. Pre-order the damn thing before it comes, the moment it's available, strong. But I do think it's a strong card. It's not Oko Brazen Borrower strong, but this thing is really cool. I am very interested in playtesting it when it comes out, and I think everyone else should be too. Anyway, I hope you liked my analysis. This has been Nikachu, Merfolk Master, talking about Sea Dasher Octopus, coming to a store near you.